Baby showers. I will bet games, presents to give an infant a comfortable start in life, and cake were the first thoughts in your mind. This is normal because almost every culture celebrates a newborn's life in some way or another. Some have tradition to hold a party before birth, some after, but they all follow the same basic guidelines of establishing existence through traditional or otherwise common practices, including presenting the infant with gifts. Though there is one culture that holds a party revolving around infants for a very different reason, and they reserve their celebration until the baby's spirit is observable in the earthly world. They are the Navajo Indians, and they call these celebrations baby's first laugh ceremonies. They are unlike most modern infant-focused parties in several ways. The first is that rather than celebrating an infant's life any point after it becomes tangible in the world, they are planned and arranged to take place specifically after a child's milestone occurrence of their first laugh. This is because of the Navajo's belief that the infant was formerly of two worlds, the holy and the earthly. But spiritual passing into the physical world becomes evident at the first laugh, when bodily reflexes open up the heart, the lungs, and the head. This is the indication of the beginning of life as a social being. The second difference is who is giving the honor and expense of putting together the ceremony. Typically, we think of parents, close friends, and relatives who will intimately know the infant as good candidates. But this is not always the case in the Navajo tradition. The responsibility of generously preparing a feast, gifts, and decorations are bestowed upon whomever it is that makes or witnesses the baby's first laugh, regardless of age or relation. Of course, the infant's parents will help if the expenses can't be covered or if the sponsoring host is simply too young. They warn to be cautious those to who coaxes the first laugh, because in their culture it is believed that the child will assume that individual's qualities. The third major difference is the overall social purpose, or rather significance, of the practices at these events. The focus is flipped from what we commonly observe at most social gatherings, celebrating a specified person, bringing blessings or gifts to them, to being on the receiving end. The various games and activities that are usually centered on the infant at these types of events are replaced with practices that allow for an infant to demonstrate the first acts of generosity, a value that is held in high regard by the Navajo Indians. There is always a giant feast that enables each guest to pass by the infant with a plate of food, and with the help of the sponsoring host, a small amount of rock salt is placed on each guest's plate. It is taken as a sign of goodwill, that the receiver will get a special blessing as well as the infant from the prayer said for long-lasting, easy resource attainment and spiritual peace. The ceremony is also ended with one last gift bag for the guests to depart with. They are given out as each guest, in order from the youngest to oldest, approach the infant and bless and thank them for their generosity through touching them in some way. Although there are no wrong or right ways to celebrate the introduction of a new life, through a baby's first laugh ceremony, the Navajo have strayed away from modern concepts by celebrating the contributions a life will give to the earth and world and its inhabitants, rather than what it will acquire for itself. After a spirit enters the world, marked by its first laugh in its human form, it is deemed capable of social interaction and immediately begins lessons of generosity. Its first being the throwing of a ceremony in which it can display respect and gratitude for those that have already committed good and unselfish deeds in the world. This outlook on the meaning and upbringing of a new life is dramatically different from the commercial culture that most of us can say we grew up in. But ironically, its core values of generosity and gratitude are closely tied to those that many individuals strive for. Perhaps, maybe the larger majority of cultures are actually the ones who celebrate the existence of new life in a way divergent of how it should be.